Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and if you're somebody who is into World of Warcraft right now, you're probably aware that there's just way too many different versions of this game to enjoy. Whether you're someone who likes the modern retail variation, potentially the classic Mists of Pandaria, or maybe even the original Anniversary Realms, or something a little bit more hardcore. However, out of all the different players that enjoy World of Warcraft in their own unique way, the Classic Plus community in particular I feel like has definitely been a little bit quiet and underserved. Ever since everybody found out that Season of Discovery is no longer going to be continued with additional content, things have been very quiet. And a lot of those players that are into Classic Plus are really craving some brand new experiences. And it looks like Blizz actually does have a form of Classic Plus in particular, as they made an announcement, originally hinted at it, and now they made a proper full announcement of what this mode is, which is Titan Reforged Realms, which finds a new way for you to experience classic expansions, multiple of them, all at the same time, with scaling content, scaling gear, scaling raids, so basically all of the endgame content of Vanilla, TBC, and Wrath all remains relevant. However, there's a pretty big catch, and that is there's a good chance that you will never ever get a chance to play it unless Blizzard makes changes going forward in the future. I want to talk about what potentially could be maybe the next Classic Plus experience if Blizzard ever changes their mind, as well as some of the baffling choices they made with the system in particular. But right before that, if you guys want to see more regular World of Warcraft updates, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe. But otherwise, let's dive right in. Man, you know what? Logging on to SOD Realms just to get some footage, and it actually makes me so sad. I had so much fun with SOD, and this auction house right behind me used to be a bustling place, and unironically, now it's just a ghost town. But let's go over the actual brand new Classic Plus mode the Blizz gave more info about, called Titan Forge Realms, which is a new take on the classic content that spans actually not just the vanilla, the original release of WoW, but also the expansions like TBC and Wrath, which many players do still to this day look as part of that classic structure. You know, TBC just iterating on what vanilla was, but just making it better, and then Wrath taking it to another level while still keeping things classic in terms of its design, the questing, the exploration, the abilities, the class usage, all those things. It's basically compacting all of this content all in a single package in a way. The cap for this content is going to be level 80, with talents and skills based off of the Wrath of Lich King expansion, which is probably good. A lot of the vanilla talents, even in SOD, like Bunkin, was just not viable. Thank goodness we have a variety of different runes that could make the playstyle a lot more viable. But yeah, without these runes, it would be very difficult to make some of those builds truly work super well. So it is really good that they're going with Wrath of Lich King, if anything, because that just iterated on what vanilla was, what TBC was, and Wrath was, helping a lot of those hybrid classes become better than ever before. The raids for this new Classic Plus experience would actually be from all three expansions, from the original release, which I guess I'm just going to call it as an expansion, or I guess if you want to call it, if anything more accurate, an era. The Classic era, the TBC era, and Wrath of Lich King era, and all those raids are going to be playing at max level, with many of the even the 10-man instance raids converted into 25-man instances with tuning and balancing for one single difficulty available, which means you have so much more content on the table, as the gear from all of this content will be reforged to level 80, meaning that all of the items from older raids and older dungeons, and even some of the newer raids like the ones from TBC and Wrath of Lich King, are actually made to be in a very similar power level, which means you have more of a vertical progression rather than horizontal progression, allowing all of this content that's out there to continue to be meaningful and valuable. So all the old raids continue to stay relevant, and some of those older items and gear pieces will continue to be useful as you try to build your best character, giving you so many different pieces of content to pick items from to potentially construct a very powerful tune for this new system. Sounds to me a lot like very similar to the Faded seasons within retail WoW, which we saw utilized in expansions such as Shadowlands, as well as Dragonflight, where they basically took the first few raids of that expansion and then they upscaled them for the final season to the highest level, allowing you to collect all of the best installed pieces from all those raids to construct the most powerful character. The tier sets from this piece of content will also be broken down into 2-set and 4-set bonuses, so I imagine classic WoW or classic raid sets that usually have like a 2-set, 4-set, 6-set, and sometimes an 8-set bonus would likely be rewards, so some of the more powerful bonuses are set up to a 2-set and a 4-set, But I'm assuming this also would give players an opportunity to mix and match the pieces of gear. You know, maybe get a 2 set from TBC, a 2 set from Wrath, and a 2 set from Classic, or potentially get the 2 set and 4 set from Wrath, but a 2 set on top of it from Classic as well, and, you know, being able to mix and match these bonuses to create a more powerful character, which sounds pretty fun. However, some of those tier sets apparently are to be adjusted. And what they also wanted to secure for this piece of content, which sounds awesome in my opinion, legendary weapons will continue to be relevant throughout the course of this unique realm specifically. It will continue to scale in power, so you are allowed to keep those truly legendary items, some of the best gear in the game, where they said themselves in some of the promotional content, you'll be able to take down Illidan Stormrage or Arthas Menethil with the Thunder Fury wielded in your hand, which sounds so cool. So it's really cool to allow those legendary pieces to stay unique and powerful heading on into future content, which is really, really cool. So altogether, this whole package is what they're trying to present together as this new Titan Forge system for Classic, which to me sounds like a brand new Classic Plus experience, which I think a lot in the Classic community have been dearly missing for a very long time. And it's true, as the Classic Plus community, specifically players that want some kind of evolution to the Classic content, has been craving for something new ever since Blizzard announced that Season of Discovery is no longer going to be something they're continuing to work on. And SOD, whether you liked it, whether you hated it, I think for the most part, majority of players will agree. It was very, very fun, whether for a long time or for a short time. I think a lot of players enjoyed this experience in one way or another. As for some players, it was a welcome return to the simpler times of Classic WoW, which allowed them to re-explore the old world of Azeroth all over again, but with so many different little secrets and quest lines and even class quests sprinkled in between. It allowed you a fresher take at that original experience while keeping the same slower, methodical pacing of exploration, open world, dungeons, class design, and it gave players, so many of them, an excuse to relive those golden glory days with their friends. For others though that enjoyed playing SOD, it was a fresh take on the original Classic experiences. We got so many fun new builds, and they really decided to really do something new and something different, because you weren't going to play your same mages, same warlocks, same builds of warriors and rogues. You actually were going to end up experiencing, this time around, SOD in a very different way, as they came up with some wild builds like Demonology Tank Warlocks utilizing Metamorphosis, Healer Mages, which are very, very similar to Discipline Priests of retail, as well as other fun class combinations, Tank Rogues, Tank Shamans, and so many other options, with all these different glyphs, some offering familiar abilities from later expansions, while others offering completely new wild playstyles like a full dual-wield melee hunter build that actually focused on melee damage and actually probably played better than survival of retail, to be honest. So it was definitely a very new, fresh take that a lot of players really enjoyed while still keeping it within the structure of Classic. And for many players, that was also an opportunity to do something new. For new level up raids, which were really, really fun at the time. PvP world events were also definitely a unique experience. New dungeons, new raids, like brand new content that players have never seen that they created just for this content specifically. And many players felt that SOD definitely had a lot of potential to build out even more content within the framework of Classic, which is what people really wanted out of this Classic Plus experience. However, unfortunately, this new Classic Plus mode that Blizzard is creating is not going to be something that you'll actually have access to whatsoever. Which, when you say this out loud, really sounds baffling, but apparently this whole new experience is going to be completely region locked, as only Chinese realms in particular will have access to this new Classic Plus Titan Forged experience. Technically, the Chinese region did miss out in a portion on Classic content thanks to the whole debacle between Blizzard and NetEase and the big fallout they had a while back. Specifically, that region didn't really get to experience the original Season of Discovery in the same way, but they also never really got to experience Classic Cataclysm either way. They really just got to move on from Wrath into Mists of Pandaria, and this is in a way an opportunity for them to try to give them some kind of content to enjoy in between. A unique variation of this like Season of Discovery, world scaling, Classic Plus mode, just for that region specifically. Which is unfortunately a very sad and missed opportunity because there's a number of players that actually read the ideas of what they had about this Titanforge Realms, the thought process and the goals and the activities you'll be able to experience with it, and many players liked the idea, but a lot of us were disappointed to hear that it's only going to be region locked, and it just makes very little sense to not bring it to NA and EU. Why wouldn't they bring it to every other region when a bunch of players that especially are enjoyers of Classic Plus content really wanted some sort of content, anything with Season of Discovery essentially go into maintenance mode? And it'll be really good to just have some holdover content, since Blizz did say themselves that they will be working on potential other experiences for Classic Plus in the future, but giving players something to do for the time being that want some kind of a different Classic experience, I think would be perfect. And it just kind of also feels like a waste to not make it something that's available for everybody else. Now, one of the explanations that may work in this situation is there's just so many different versions of World of Warcraft that adding yet another one would just help splinter the community even more. World of Warcraft can be played in a variety of ways, which I think is a pretty big bonus. From the classic, original, to the anniversary realms, which are going to be moving into Burning Crusades very soon. The hardcore community still has a very passionate audience behind it. We also have Classic Mists of Pandaria, we have Retail, which is in its World Soul Saga, starting to wrap up War Within little by little, but we'll be heading into Midnight very soon, and even Retail has a mode within itself with the Legion remix coming out very soon. So there's so many different ways to enjoy World of Warcraft, there's a version for literally everybody. So maybe they just try not to add too many different versions to further splinter the community. However, I do think the Classic Plus community in particular has been craving for new content, which is why some players flock to private realms, which are now beginning to get shut down or potentially seeing cease and desist letters. But there is a community that is passionate and hungry for evolved version of classic content in particular, something new, something fresh within this classic framework. And I feel like this could be at least some sort of holdover content until they create some kind of a new experience, some sort of another seasonal classic content similar to Season of Discovery, but maybe with a new coat of paint and a new set of abilities or runes or whatever other systems they decide in order to give that whole piece of content a bit of a fresh coat of paint. But it is definitely a dedicated community that wants to see more content like that. So for many players out there right now, it is still baffling that we aren't getting this type of mode announced at some point in the future. Maybe Blizz will change their minds, but I did want to pass it off from here on to you guys in the comments down below. Would you want to see more Classic Plus content from World of Warcraft, or potentially even this Titanforge Reforged system that they got going on? Is that something you would be interested in playing, or at least checking out for a short bit of time just to see if you like it? Or if you think that maybe you should focus on all the current versions of the game without making way too many variations to splinter the community even further? Let me know those thoughts in the comments down below. But with that, as always, I do want to thank all of you guys so much for watching and hope you guys did enjoy this update. If you did enjoy it or found it informative, go ahead and give it a like. I would very much appreciate it. And if you guys want to join our Discord community, especially if you want to keep up with any of the newest retail updates such as War Within, Legion Remix, potentially Midnight Alpha if we are lucky enough to get in, we'll definitely be posting even more updates there specifically. Also, as always, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.